Hi, it's Jack, and this is the podcast version of this episode. If you want to read the words as they're being analysed, then if you're on Spotify, you can become a subscriber of this channel or head over to the YouTube channel. And on both platforms, you can also sign up to get exclusive episodes and early access to the regular weekly episodes too. She could have been the perfect neighbour, but after Susan Lorincz was convicted of shooting Ajiki Owens, her words revealed more than guilt. So was she a scared older woman or a manipulative killer?
I just know the gun went off and I heard it. She said, ow. And I thought, oh crap, I hit her. And I thought, how in God's green earth did I, aim for that left corner and I hit her? I couldn't figure things out.
Welcome to Never a Truer Word, where we look at the words that people choose to use to see if they're telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. If you're new to this channel, what I do here is different from anywhere else. Every time I strip away everything apart from the words that are said by the people at the centre of the story. And then I use my process of statement investigation to give you the key to seeing where the truth is, where deception is happening, and the motivations of the person talking as well. This is a process that I use with investigators, with corporate clients, and the media to get a deep understanding of what is being said. So the case, well, it's another case of Jack hasn't seen something on Netflix that so many people are talking about. It's the documentary that's called The Perfect Neighbour, and it centres around Susan Lorincz, who shot Ajiki Owens. They were neighbours. They had some sort of dispute, and apparently it's a captivating programme. Highly recommend you watch it. Now, someone got in touch with me and said, Jack, have a look at this. So this interview is with Susan Lorincz, and it happened after she was convicted, so it's done in the jail, but it's before she became internet famous, I guess, as a Netflix star. So what is it? Is it just a case of a neighbourhood fallout? Was it an older woman in fear for her life pushed to the brink? Or is there something a little bit deeper going on there? Because when I first watched the interview, I thought, this is someone who has empathy, remorse, regret. What's going on here? But then I dug deeper into the words, and I'll reveal what I learned as we go through it. What I want to talk about is the images that you can put in your head as Susan is talking. Just think about every single word she says. Can you take from her words an image in your mind, make a movie or a still picture in your mind of what was happening? You see, the thing is, if someone is telling you the truth, it's really easy to put the picture together inside your head of what happened. If they're not telling you the truth, then those words are not coming from an authentic place, so it's going to be much harder to make that movie in your mind of what went on. Keep that in your mind, if you like, as we listen to Susan Lorincz talk.
I first want to start here. You were convicted of manslaughter.
Yes.
Sentenced to 25 years.
Yes.
You are 61 now.
Yes.
You might be in your mid-80s before you leave here, or you might not leave here at all. How have you reconciled that?
Day by day, and going to a lot of services, leaning on God, getting into the Word.
Talk to me about that. You attended a church in Ocala, is that right?
Yes.
And you also sang in the choir?
Yes.
So as someone of faith, how did you end up here?
A very unfortunate series of events.
Take me back to June of 2023. What do you know specifically of that day?
I remember the kids screaming and yelling. I had a migraine headache. I was in my bedroom, shut everything down, closed curtains. Everything was dark. And when they finally left, I had to pack up a computer for my work to ship back to the home office. So I wanted to do that, and I didn't realize the children were still outside. There were the three boys, and they were very close to my sidewalk, and they had their skates around and stuff. I had fallen over a skate, and I said, guys, pick up your skates, and they were like, no. And I said, kids, pick up your skates and please leave. You're trespassing. You know you're trespassing. And the kid said, I'm going to kill you. If I can't kill you, I'm going to find someone to kill you.
Wow. Well, that's a start. By the way, thank you to the person who sent me an email saying, please cover this. Look at this interview these guys have done. I think it's fascinating. It's so fascinating that we're doing it now as an episode. It starts off, you were convicted of manslaughter. She says, yes. Sentenced to 25 years. She says, yes. And you're 61 now. Yes. And I was intrigued at that point because I thought, here's someone not selling me a story. They are not trying to get an agenda across. They are just answering the questions with straight yeses. You were convicted of manslaughter. Yes. Susan here doesn't go extra and do any of the things that I see from so many guilty people. I was convicted of manslaughter, but I shouldn't have been convicted of manslaughter. Hi, Donna Adelson, I'm thinking of you. She just agrees with the questions. This seems like a nice, agreeable person here. You were convicted of manslaughter. Yes. Sentenced to 25 years. Yes. You are 61 now. Yes. And the interview continues. You might be in your mid-80s before you leave here, or you might not leave here at all. How have you reconciled that, is the question. And Susan says, day by day, and going to a lot of services, leaning on God, getting into the Word. I think it's the Word she says at the end, and I think she means the word of the gospel or whatever. It's a religious term there. So, day by day, and let's deal with everything after the and first. And going to a lot of services, leaning on God, getting into the Word. So this is all about religion. This is all about leaning on God. So how are you reconciled that? Going to a lot of services, leaning on God, getting into the Word. Now, that might be true, but it does strike me as a little bit of a resume statement. Hey, look at me. I am a religious person. So often we see people using their faith or pretend faith as cover for what a bad person they are. But look, how can I be a bad person? Because I go to a lot of services. I'm very God-fearing. I'm into the word of the gospel. So straight away, I'm now going, I see it so often that when someone invokes God in this way, especially when there's guilt around them, I do worry that they are using that in order to appear like a good and virtuous person. And now let's deal with what came before the and. So it was day by day and all this religious stuff. And there is content inside the religious thing, going to services, leaning on God, getting into the Word. It's not a lot of context, but it is some context. But the day by day, how have you reconciled that day by day? That could be expanded, but she didn't expand it. She just used the phrase day by day. What is she doing day by day? And notice day by day and going to church. It's not day by day by going to the services. So there's something else that she's referring to there that she gets through this. So she reconciles this day by day, but she's not expanding on it at all. What she does expand on is this leaning on God and invoking religion. The interviewer says, talk to me about that. You attended a church in Ocala, is that right? And once more we get into this. Yes, the sound is quite choppy on this. I do think that there is a possibility this could have been edited so that she said yes and then something and it's been edited. I don't think so though, because look, what if you're going to edit an interview and you're going to leave in the blandest part, yes, and leave the rest out? No, I don't think so. I think it's just a choppy sound from the TV station there. So you attended a church in Ocala, is that right? Yes. Now, this follows a talk to me about that. It's an invitation to talk to me more about your religion, of which she's kind of said she goes to a lot of services, leans on God. She's not really told us very much about it other than she does these things. So this is an invitation. Talk to me about that. You attended a church in Ocala, is that right? She could have talked about that. What does her faith bring her? What did she do at the church? But she just says, yes. It's an agreeable answer. But it's very short, especially when the invitation, talk to me about that, is there. Next thing, and you also sang in the choir. Same thing. Yes. Maybe she talks about how much she missed it or how much she sings in the choir in the prison. I don't know, but she doesn't. She just says yes. So then he tries again to get her to open up about that. So, as someone of faith, how did you end up here? And Susan says, a very unfortunate series of events. Well, that tells us nothing. There's no information in there. There's no depth to that answer, but it is informative. She was going to say a bad something, but then she thinks better of it and starts again by saying a very unfortunate series of events. So she's taken the bad out and she's sort of softened that somewhat. It's not bad anymore. It's unfortunate. You'll notice there is no ownership there. She doesn't take any ownership of why she's gotten there. There is a perfectly valid answer of, I shot someone through my door, but she doesn't mention that, or, I killed someone, but she doesn't mention that either. She just downplays it all into a very unfortunate series of events with no ownership there, but also no blame. You'll notice that she's not blaming her next door neighbour, and we'll see the interactions with the family next door to her there later on as she talks about it. So there's no ownership of these events, but also no blame. This is a very neutral statement there. She's not assigning any blame, but she's not taking any ownership either. The other thing I've got there, I said I haven't seen this program, so what I know about it is what is in this interview. An unfortunate series of events, so that is plural. Series is obviously more than one thing, and then events is also plural. So no ownership, no blame, but I know that lots of things have led up to this in her telling of it. It's not just the one action where she shot the person that's led to this. There's been, in her words, an unfortunate series of events. Take me back to June of 2023 is what she's asked. What do you know specifically of that day? I'm presuming this is the day that she shot her neighbour. And she says, I, and she draws it out. It's not quite a stutter, but it's as if she's drawing that one letter word, I, out as long as she can. So she forms good words she's comfortable saying. I remember the kids screaming and yelling. I had a migraine headache. I was in my bedroom, shut everything down, closed curtains. Everything was dark. Now, that's the day she shot her neighbour. And she's not starting there. She's starting beforehand. So she's telling us a story. She's leading up to the shooting here. This is storytelling or story selling. So what do you remember specifically of that day? It was the worst day of my life. It was the day my life changed because that's when I made a dreadful mistake. Is the truth there? But what do you know specifically of that day? She's going to start talking about the kids screaming and yelling. Now, this just shows, and it could be true, this could have happened, but it just shows how she thinks of it and how she wants to place the context of the terrible thing that she did and start blaming the kids for it and start selling us the story. So this is the start of the story. Want to know why she says she shut everything down. So I had a migraine headache. I was in my bedroom, shut everything down. What was open that needed to be shut down? I get some sort of sense of closing a computer down or something like that, but I don't know. What did she shut down? What is everything that she shut down? Closed the curtains. Everything was dark. And I do wonder, with that mention of shut everything down and the mention of everything was dark, if there's some depression in Susan's character, personality, medical history, because that is quite bleak. The migraine headache, the shut everything down, closed curtains, everything was dark. I can't diagnose, and also it's no excuse for shooting someone. I just wonder if that's what I get from the words. And when they finally left, she says, I had to pack up a computer for my work to ship back to the Home Office. So I wanted to do that, and I didn't realise the children were still outside. Let's break that down because there's so much there. And when they finally left, so for some reason she knows the children left, these children that were yelling and screaming had left because she says they finally left. It's not when I thought they'd left, it's not when they went quiet or when I heard no more sound, it's when they left. I had to pack up a computer for my work to ship back to the Home Office. Now, I don't know why the kids had to leave before she packed up the computer, but she for some reason thinks that, or is intimating in her words here, that this computer could not be packed up until these kids had gone. Does that mean there was something else happening? You know, is she hiding an interaction with the kids to try and get them to go away, telling them to go away and be quiet? And then once that had happened, then she had the capacity to stop telling them what to do and to move on to packing up the computer. I don't know, but it doesn't add up. She says, so I wanted to do that. That suggests that she didn't do that. And I'm sure she would much rather have packed up a computer than shoot her neighbour. So I wanted to do that. And I didn't realise the children were still outside. Had they left? Or were they still outside? Because she says, when they finally left, I had to pack up a computer, but I didn't realise the children were still outside. It doesn't make sense. In her words, the kids are in two different places. They'd either finally left and gone away, or they were still outside. So what is going on there? I really don't know, but there's a real contradiction there, which makes me think we're not getting the full story. We're not getting all the positions of the children. How did she know they'd left? Did she see them leave or did it get quieter? She doesn't say. And how did she realise they were still outside? Again, she doesn't say. There were 3 boys and they were very close to my sidewalk and they had their skates around and stuff. I had fallen over a skate. There were 3 boys and they were very close to my sidewalk. So very close to my sidewalk, not on my sidewalk, just very close to my sidewalk. Now, sidewalk, We don't have sidewalks here in the UK. We have pavements. I don't know if it's possible to own a sidewalk. If that's something there, you don't own sidewalks or pavements here in the UK. But she's claiming ownership of this sidewalk, and it's my sidewalk now. We have busybodies in the UK who think they do own the sidewalks. Is that what is going on here? My sidewalk, i.e. the thing in front of my house, or is it actually on her grounds, and she refers to it as my sidewalk? Whatever. It's kind of immaterial, because it's only very close to my sidewalk. Not on my sidewalk, just very close to it. And so therefore, they left, but actually they were still outside, very close to my sidewalk. And they had their skates around and stuff. Now, she wants to make this sound like it's the most terrible thing she's ever experienced. She'll go on to say how frightened she is, but all she can say is they were very close to my sidewalk and they had their skates around and stuff. Just and stuff. When people say and stuff, actually, that means very little. I had fallen over a skate. Now, again, she doesn't say that day. She just says once she fell over a skate, because it's in the past tense. I had fallen over a skate. Now, that could have been 3 months prior, a year prior. She doesn't say. She doesn't say I'd fallen over a skate earlier that day or anything like that. Just I had fallen over a skate. You'll also notice that she doesn't say I'd fallen over one of their skates. It could have been someone else's skate. But she seems to take all of that context away so that we get the impression this all happened on that day. This was all building up into something. But really, the kids were, what did she say, screaming and yelling, were near my sidewalk and had their skates around and stuff. And I said, guys, pick up your skates. And they were like, no. And I said, kids, pick up your skates and please leave. Now, I said, guys, pick up your skates. That's commanding language. It's not, I asked them if they could move their skates. That would be softer. I said, guys, pick up your skates. Said, did you say it or were you yelling it at them? And also, if it was on public property, what right do you have to say that? And they were like, no. And I said, kids, pick up your skates. Controlling language. And then we get, and please leave. Did she say, and please leave? Was she that nice? I don't get that from anything she said. You're trespassing. You know you're trespassing. And the kid said, I'm going to kill you. Now, what we've got here is she's not telling us about what events happened. This happened, this happened, this happened. She's now starting to use the words that were said on that day by different people. Now, how many times do you accurately remember a conversation you had with anyone? I can't accurately remember what I was saying in this episode 1 minute ago. I could not tell you the exact words I used. So I'm always very careful when someone pretends to use the exact words that were said in a conversation. I think that people do it to heighten the drama of what was going on and to get across the back and forth element of what was there. You're trespassing. You know you're trespassing. And the kid said, I'm going to kill you. If I can't kill you, I'm going to find someone to kill you. So much missing action and position here, because how did she, from this darkened bedroom, be interacting with the kids? Like I said, I think she's hiding a lot, and I think she's hiding interaction with the kids, because, you know, how did she get from that darkened bedroom to being here saying pick up your skates? And even with the curtain shut, how did she know the skates were everywhere? She doesn't tell us. So in this very first part, storytelling, but it's not good storytelling. There is too much missing. Definitely a woe is me feeling coming on here. She hasn't got round to the fact that she shot anyone yet, even though she's talking about the day she did. It's about everything that was going on in her life. The fact that she had a migraine, the fact the kids were screaming and yelling and leaving skates and stuff around, the fact even she had some work to do, she had to pack up this computer. It's really low on emotions though. There's no emotions coming through at all. Now she does talk about the shooting, and that will come up later, but let's listen to some more from Susan Lorincz.
I had called the sheriff's department as soon as he threatened me. And I said, this is insane. This little kid is threatening me. And, you know, just the way he said it made me so uncomfortable. There had been a multitude of threats. Prior to that, the children said they would set me on fire. And they took one of the no trespassing signs, set it on fire, and then put it on my porch, and they said, you're next. So when he said this, I'm like, oh my God, you know, it takes a second. Squirt somebody with some lighter fluid, and they left the lighter fluid with the burnt sign. And I'm thinking, they're gonna set me on fire. So I went back into the house and I called. The first phone call dropped and I had to call him back again. And so I told them what had transpired it was a really horrible connection. And they just said, wait. So I locked the bottom lock and I waited. Next thing I know, I had to go to the bathroom, so I quick went to the bathroom. I had put my phone down where I left the computer, and I forgot where I put the phone. Banging on the door, banging on the door. I thought, oh my goodness, the cops are here so quick. They must have been in the area. And I said 1 minute. As soon as I said 1 minute, she went on a tirade, expletives and just horrible language, screaming at me, pounding on the door so hard. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, you need to leave. You're trespassing. You were told not to come here by the sheriff's department. You know you're trespassing. You need to leave. And then she said, I'm going to effing kill you. And I went, oh my God. And she's pounding and she's pounding and she's pounding. And I just, I was terrified.
That is a very confusing story to me, but let's break it down. She says, I had called the sheriff's department as soon as he threatened me. And I said, this is insane. This little kid is threatening me. That's all she says at this part about this call to the sheriff's department. I think there was a little bit more there. And the way he said it made me so uncomfortable. There had been a multitude of threats prior to that. So, the way he said it made me so uncomfortable. So is a persuasive word that is put in there to convince us, persuade us of the severity of the discomfort that she was feeling. But also, this kid is threatening me. And we heard her say, this kid has said, I'm going to kill you. And if I can't kill you, I'm going to get someone else to kill you. And that made her feel uncomfortable. That is the word she uses, not fearful, terrified, none of that. She called the sheriff's department because she was uncomfortable. That's her words. That's very, very strange. Now, there's a passage coming up here where we get what's called and so storytelling. This is something people use to explain their actions, to explain what has happened. And it's the format of and something happened, so something else happened. And the so is the explanation. And I want you to look for that and so from Susan as she continues. The children said they would set me on fire, and they took one of the no trespassing signs, set it on fire, and then put it on my porch, and they said, you're next. So the children said they would set me on fire, and they took one of the no trespassing signs. So we've got one of the no trespassing signs, so there must be more than one no trespassing sign for them to take one of them, which makes me get a picture of what Susan was like. Lots of no trespassing signs. We've already had the trespassing word used twice by her, so people being on her property, not something that she liked. One of the no trespassing signs. Set it on fire, then put it on my porch, and they said, you're next. Again, how did this happen? Because her positioning is missing. Where was she when they said, you're next? Was she watching them? Were they letting her watch? They set fire to this no trespassing sign, put it on the porch and said, you're next. Her positioning in so many of the stories that she tells is missing. So when he said this, I'm like, oh my God, it takes a second, squirt somebody with some lighter fluid. Also, she uses a lot. Now, that can be a verbal crutch that we use. Lots of people that go, and it's just like they're looking for your agreement. They're looking to see if you're still listening to the story, or it's just something people have got into the habit of using. She seems to use to check in that you're listening and to give you a worrying fact after it. I'm like, oh my God, it takes a second. Squirt somebody with some lighter fluid. Squirt somebody, not squirt her. She's not saying, in her own words, it would take them a second to squirt me with some lighter fluid and light it. That's not what she says. It's squirt somebody with some lighter fluid. She never mentions being set alight on there at all. And they left the lighter fluid with the burnt sign. And I'm thinking, they're going to set me on fire. So I went back into the house. So here we have, they left the lighter fluid with the burnt sign. And I'm thinking they're going to set me on fire. Now, thinking is present tense. Is that what she was thinking at the time? Or is she telling that in the present time? She's making it up, in other words, making it up right now, which is when we sometimes use the present tense. I'm thinking they're going to set me on fire. So I went back into the house. So she was going to say something else, and it has the just word at the front of it. But she doesn't finish that off. She was going to say something deceptive, I think, or something she doesn't want to share with us. So I went back into the house. So her positioning is just changing again. We don't know where she was. Interesting, she says they put the no trespassing sign there, set it on fire and put it on my porch. Then that makes it sound like it was put on the porch on fire. And said, you're next. But actually what she's saying there is it wasn't on fire. They left the lighter fluid with the burnt sign, i.e. it had burnt, and then they put it on the porch. I went back into the house, but there's no emotion expressed once more. There's an oh my God, which is conveying some sort of emotion, but it's not telling us about the emotion. And the timing is missing as well. When did this burnt porch sign happen? I think she wants us to believe that these things all happened together to make her such a state that she did the shooting, but the timing is missing on this. This could have happened, again, just like the skates, on the day, or it could have happened a year before. She doesn't tell us, and if she doesn't tell us, there must be a reason for that. And I called. Now, this is the second time she says she's called the 911. So she, obviously the first time she didn't feel she was good enough at it, or she had to give some context as to why she called 911, and I called. The first phone call dropped, and I had to call them back again. Not I had to call them back again. Not the first phone call dropped, so I called them again. It's I had to call them again. And so, there's your and so storytelling coming in. I told them what had transpired, though it was a really horrible connection, and they just said, wait. And so I told them what had transpired. She doesn't again tell us what has transpired is, because previously she said, this is insane. Well, that's not saying what has transpired. That's her view on what has transpired. She also doesn't say what she demanded of the police, if anything, why she called 911. It's just, I told them what had transpired. Really interesting way of saying, you know, if you were fearful. I told them I was really fearful. I thought these guys were going to kill me. They threatened to kill me. I told them, please get help to me quickly. No, it's just what had transpired. It was a really horrible connection, and they just said, wait. I think they said other things. I'm sure they said other things. I don't know if the 911 call is in the documentary. Do let me know in the comments if you do know. I'm sure there was other things said in that call, and they just said wait. We've got just that minimizing word. I'm sure they said a lot more than wait. So I locked the bottom lock and I waited. Next thing I know, I had to go to the bathroom. Now we've got a jump in time there. Next thing I know, I had to go to the bathroom infers that things happened. She was waiting, and then the next thing I know, I had to go to the bathroom, but that means there is a jump in time. Could be nothing happened. It could be lots of things happened. That's why she's hiding them there with this. Next thing I know, I had to go to the bathroom. So I quickly went to the bathroom. I had put my phone down where I left the computer, and I forgot where I put the phone. Now, this is all jumbled up and out of time. I quickly went to the bathroom. I had put my phone down. I think what she wants to say is, when I went to the bathroom, I put my phone down. But she doesn't say that. And again, it just doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense linguistically. I think what she wants to get across here is that she lost the phone at some point, yeah? But she doesn't talk about it as if she had the authentic experience of losing her phone. I quickly went to the bathroom. I had put my phone down, past tense. That sounds like long before the bathroom, where I left the computer. I knew that computer got mentioned for a reason, and it's the fact the phone is next to the computer, apparently. And I forgot where I put my phone. That's not when you forget where you put your phone. You put your phone down somewhere, and later on, I forgot where I put my phone. But she's telling this out of time. It's an explanation much more than a passage of events. And then she says, banging on the door, banging on the door. I thought, oh my goodness, the cops are here so quick. They must have been in the area. Banging on the door, banging on the door. We have sound all of a sudden. Banging on the door, banging on the door. And I said 1 minute, and as soon as I said 1 minute, she went on to tirade, expletives and just horrible language, you know, screaming at me, pounding on the door so hard, I'm like, oh my God. We've got lots of noise in this. It starts with banging on the door, banging on the door. I said, so sound again, 1 minute. As soon as I said 1 minute, so more sound, she went on a tirade. Sound, expletives, horrible language, screaming at me, pounding on the door so hard. I'm like, oh my God. I wonder if oh my God is hiding a lot of stuff. I'm like, oh my God, a lot more going on in her mind that she doesn't want to share with us. She's just blanketing it all with this, oh my God. She's introduced the victim of her crime here, and it's just she. No name, not even a context, the boy's mom or anything like that, my neighbour. No name, just she. She appears almost out of nowhere. She went on to tirade, expletives and just horrible language. Lots of quoting the kids when they were talking to them earlier, but none here of what the expletives were, what the horrible language was. There's no quoting of that at all here. So is this as it seems. And also look at the pronouns. So we've talked about she being introducing the person. She went on the tirade or on to tirade. But then expletives, just horrible language, screaming at me, pounding on the door so hard, that's not associated with anyone through a pronoun. She went on to tirade, so that is joined there, but it's not, she was swearing at me, she was using horrible language, she was screaming at me, she was pounding on the door so hard. No, that is all missing. I'm like, you need to leave. You're trespassing. You were told not to come here by the sheriff's department. I'm like, you need to leave. So controlling language again from this woman. We've seen that she does seem to tell people what to do. You need to leave. You're trespassing. You were told not to come here by the sheriff's department. Now trespass, people being on her property, obviously very, very important for her. You know you're trespassing, and that's something that she said to the kids as well as she was there. You know you're trespassing. You'll know she's now doing the direct quotes again. You need to leave, again controlling language. Then she said, I'm going to effing kill you. And I went, oh my God. And I just, I was terrified. This is the first scared emotion she has expressed. I was terrified. However, it comes from a different place. And she's going to say something else there. And she decides better. She decides that she doesn't want to tell us. And then she says, I was terrified. And we have the before the emotion there from Susan. So in that part there, there's just more hiding of positions. Like where she is in any of these stories is not clear at all. The timings are all hidden. We really don't know when some of these things happened. And the interactions, I think, are hidden as well. Real suggestions that she uses controlling language, used to telling people what to do. But she's low on emotional words. She attempts to allude to them and to create some drama through talking about what people actually said, but is very, very low on emotional words. Lots of oh my gods, oh my goodness, but not a lot of any emotion. That one mention of terrified. So this story for me is not coming from an authentic place. By the way, this episode looks at the first half of the interview with Susan Lorincz. If there are enough people expressing interest in looking at the second half and what she has to say there, then we may do an episode on that in the future. So let me know in the comments if you'd like part 2 of the interview broken down. Also, I'll see the metrics. So if this episode gets enough likes and obviously enough views, I'll know there's a desire there to look at more of this woman from Netflix, The Perfect Neighbor. Let's listen to some more of her talking in this interview.
There was a lot made during trial and even when detectives were interviewing you about the loudness of the pounding, and you had said multiple times, I'm fearful of my life. You still contend that?
Oh God, yes. It just made me so, it gave me a panic attack actually. She was pounding so hard. She had previously done this and had broken my door frame in December of 2022. So I was like, she broke the door frame once. She's going to end up coming through this door.
You then made, though, the conscious decision to go into your bedroom and grab the gun from your trash can?
Yes.
And you said you couldn't find your cell phone?
Exactly.
So take me back behind the decision then of you going into your bedroom, taking the gun out of the trash can, possibly knowing that you could use it, and you did. You shot once.
Yes, once. I was aiming for the top left corner of the door, and she pounded so hard that I could hear the frame crack, and it did. It splintered, the frame. And when she did that, I went like this, and I pulled the trigger. Because even in my questioning and the police report, I said, I don't remember firing the gun.
The question is asked at the start. There was a lot made during the trial, and even when detectives were interviewing you, about the loudness of the pounding. And you had said multiple times, I'm fearful of my life. You still contend that? And she says, oh God, yes. It just made me so... It gave me a panic attack, actually. She doesn't say that she was fearful for her life or deal with the sound there at all. Just, I still contend that. Oh God, yes. Now there is a yes there. It just made me so, it gave me a panic attack, actually. Was she really terrified? Because she finds it really hard to say the words there. It's very stuttery. I was, no, I'm not going to finish that. It was, no, I'm not going to finish that as well. It just made me so, it gave me a panic attack, actually. Actually? It gave you a panic attack? Actually, thanks for saying actually, because we wouldn't have believed you if you hadn't said actually at the end of it. It's a persuasive word once more to tell us that this panic attack really did happen. She was pounding so hard. She had previously done this and had broken my door frame in December of 2022. So I was like, she broke the door frame once, she's going to end up coming through the door. Now, the question was about the loudness there, and we've seen lots of loudness discussed and sound very important to her in this story, but she's taken the question about loudness and moved it into why she was fearful, which is that she was going to come through the door. She had broken the door frame before. You then made, though, the conscious decision to go into your bedroom and grab the gun from your trash can. And she says, yes. Now, that's, again, back to this format of her just answering questions very straightforwardly and very honestly. So for everything I've been doubting before, I'm still in this mind of she is not minimizing some of her actions, and this one is about the gun. It's just that, yes, I did go and get the gun. And you said you couldn't find your cell phone. She says, exactly. Not yes, but yeah, that part of the story. You remember that part of the story. I don't believe she couldn't find her phone because of the way she told it in the part previously to this. And then it's this exactly. It's not the meek and mild yes that she's been given to some of the other things. And you said you couldn't find your cell phone. Exactly. So take me back behind the decision then of you going into your bedroom, taking the gun out of the trash can, possibly knowing that you could use it. And you did. You shot once. And she says, yes, once. I was aiming for the top left corner of the door. She doesn't answer the question. Take me back behind the decision then of going into your bedroom, taking the gun out of the trash can, possibly knowing that you could use it. So let's talk to me about the decision. Why did you go and get the gun? What was going through your head at the time when you went to get the gun? And she tells us where she was aiming. Yes, once. You shot once. I was aiming for the top left corner of the door. She does not answer that question. And she pounded so hard, so she's added this in. This is extra. Talk to me about the decision. I was aiming for the door is not talking to me about the decision. I'm going to carry on telling my story. And she pounded so hard, I could hear the frame crack. And it did. It splintered the frame. 3 times in that telling, the door cracks. I could hear the frame crack once. And it did twice, and it splintered the frame. That is 3 times. And also, it splintered the frame. Is it the pounding splintered the frame? Guess it could be. But look, it's not. This didn't happen in the first telling. In the first telling, she was talking about the door being pounded on and the expletives from the tirade. She didn't talk about any cracking of the door frame at all. And then she has answered nothing about getting her gun, and she hasn't expanded on the fact she didn't have her phone. And when she did that, and we have she coming up again, when she did that, which is splintering the frame, I went like this and I pulled the trigger. Now that's very straightforward and direct. She does some actions to go with it. I went like this and pulled the trigger, and she has taken ownership of that, because I went like this, owning it with the word I, and I pulled the trigger. Complete ownership there of what happened. Frankly, looking at some of the rest of what she's got to say, I'm not sure whether she meant to say that so directly. I went like this and I pulled the trigger because and she's going to say something about this event, and she thinks better of saying it and says something different. Even in my questioning and the police report, I said, I don't remember firing the gun. That's contradictory. I went like this and I pulled the trigger. Is not saying I don't remember how I fired the gun. That is remembering firing the gun. What she wants to do there is show some consistency. In my questioning and in the police report, I said I don't remember firing the gun, but she tells us right there she remembers firing the gun. I went like this and I pulled the trigger. So in this part here, in her telling, it's the damage to the property that was the cause of the actions. This is in her telling. Everything was fine until there was damage to the property, until the door frame cracked or splintered. That was the cause of her actions. The getting of the gun and getting the phone being missing, not explained by her at all. She doesn't want to let us into that. She wants to tell us how hard the door was being knocked. She wants to tell us about the door frame splintering, the tirade, the swearing, everything like that. She doesn't want to tell us about getting her gun or why this phone was there. But she does own the action. You know, I pulled the trigger is what she says there. Right, still to come, she's going to show us remorse and regret. And I want to know if that's genuine remorse and regret or if there's something more going on there. When we listen and look at the words, we'll understand a little bit more. Do you ever feel like you're not getting the full story? You're right, it happens all the time. I think it's happening right now in this interview, and it happens to us in our day-to-day lives as well. Well, this channel is here to give you the key to seeing deeper. This is about hearing the world with new ears, and I'm on a mission to share this with as many people as possible. So if you want to unlock the secret, then do subscribe to this channel or follow it and join in the movement. If you dive into the archives, there are a treasure trove of cases waiting to be explored. If you're a Netflix fan, we've got stuff on Missing Amy Bradley. There's also things on apple cider vinegar, a whole load of Netflix things inside the channel for you to look at. And do you know someone who needs this skill, someone who deserves to hear the truth in their life? Then help this get out to more people. Hit that like button, share this, recommend it, do pass it on. Even this week, I had a message from someone saying how much the skills that they'd learned through watching this channel had helped them navigate a situation in life where they realized their own words could have been a little bit better. But listen, every single click that this gets, every single share, fuels the fire for Never a Truer Word, because it allows me to dig deeper, to analyze further, and bring this life-changing skill to even more people. Here's some more now from Susan Lorincz in prison.
I just know the gun went off, and I heard it. She said, "Ow." And I thought, oh crap, I hit her. And I thought, how in God's green earth did I, aim for that left corner and I hit her? I couldn't figure things out.
Was the upper left corner more of a warning shot?
Yes, absolutely.
So you did not intend to shoot her and hit her?
No, never.
Well, I believe you also testified or told detectives you did not go outside at that moment, but you called 911 again.
Yes.
And you said what?
I told them that I had hit her. I said she was pounding on my door, she was threatening to kill me, and I shot her. And I knew I shot her because she said, "Ow." And I thought I grazed her somehow. And I couldn't imagine where that shot went. I never even saw the shot. I mean, I was just so terrified. I remember I was shaking, I was crying. It was horrible.
Is Susan Lorincz capable of manslaughter?
No. And I'm so, it just makes me sick what happened. I just never ever thought in a million years this would happen. And it breaks my heart. I mean, I don't know. I can't take it back. I can't replace her. I can't say, I did an apology to the family, and I'm still so sorry. And I know her kids are without a mom, and I know that it's been hard on her mom. I know everybody's hurting. I wish I could change things.
Quite the extract there. It starts with Susan saying, I just know the gun went off and I heard it. She said, "Ow." I thought, oh crap, I hit her. Now, she's just said I pulled the trigger, but now this has changed. I just know. We've got that word just there. It's that minimizing word that suggests deception could be happening. I know a lot more than that. She knows a lot more than that, but she wants to minimize it down by saying, I just know the gun went off. Now, that has no ownership to it whatsoever. She said earlier, I went like this, I pulled the trigger. But now the gun went off. No one made the gun go off. The gun went off by itself in this telling here. Guns don't go off by themselves. She made the gun go off. And I heard it. She said, "Ow." Now, said is interesting because if someone has been shot, are they saying anything or are they making a lot of noise? She said, "Ow." And again, is "ow," and especially the way she says it, it's all downplayed. She said, "Ow." And I thought, oh crap, I hit her. Not she screamed, yeah. No, I don't believe that at all. She said, "Ow." And I thought, oh crap, I hit her. Well, the gun went off and she's trying to say now, I don't know how the gun went off, but she hit her. I hit her. She's taking ownership of hitting her with a bullet and hitting her as well. I want you to notice that. Hit her with the bullet. And I didn't. And she thinks better of saying whatever it was she was going to say there. I didn't. I thought, how in God's green earth, bing for the God mention, did I, aim for that left corner and I hit her. So we've got ownership there again. I don't think she realizes she's doing it here. I hit her. It's not the bullet hit her or anything like that. It's I hit her. She's owning it in her words. As much as she wants to say this was an accident, yeah, I hit her. I couldn't figure things out. Asked, was the upper left corner more of a warning shot? She says, yes. Absolutely. Now, that's not that neat and tidy yes, the pattern that she's been in before. That is yes with an absolutely, which is convincing us that, yeah, it really was a warning shot. She doesn't feel that saying yes in this case would suffice. She has to turn the severity up by adding an absolutely at the end there. So you did not intend to shoot her and hit her. And she says, no, never. We've got some classic never or truer words there. She's used an absolutely here. She's used a just. And now we have a never. No, never. Again, so you did not intend to shoot and hit her? No, would be fine. Never? Not at any time? This is only one time. This is a one-time thing. No, never. So don't be fooled by this no, never. It's actually weaker. It's not stronger because she said no and then added never. It's weaker. It's weaker by adding the never. I believe you also testified or told detectives you did not go outside at that moment, but you called 911 again and you said, what? I told them I had hit her. I said she was pounding on my door. She was threatening to kill me. Now that's different and at odds from the story she was telling before, which was I was frightened that she was going to break the door down and then kill me. I told them that I had hit her. So once more, we have that ownership there. I had hit her. As much as she wants to say, I don't know how the gun went off. I don't remember this. And I've always said I don't remember this. She told us I pulled the trigger. And in her words, she's saying I had hit her. She was pounding on my door. She was threatening to kill me. Interesting there, the ordering. She was pounding on my door comes first. She was threatening to kill me comes second. Now, I've had people pound on my door before. I don't think I've ever had anyone threatening to kill me, but I know which one would be most important in my mind. It would be threatening to kill me. But no, the pounding on the door comes first. The threatening to kill me comes second. Makes me think, look, obviously she was at the door because she got shot at the door. Was she knocking on the door? But I don't believe the threatening to kill me actually happened. That would be second. That wouldn't be second. That would be first. That would be the biggest thing. I told them I had hit her. She was threatening to kill me. And I shot and she thinks better of that. I shot my gun? I don't know. I shot my neighbour? I don't know, but she thinks better of that. I shot her. And I knew I shot her because she said, ow. We've got that said again. And I thought I grazed her somehow. Well, I hit her. Has come through. I shot her has come through. Not I grazed her. So did you hit her? Did you think, my God, I've hit her? Or did you think you'd grazed her? Not very clear in her words. Actually, it's very clear she uses hit a lot more than graze, which is that downplaying of it. And I couldn't imagine where that shot went. Well, it went to her. You heard her say that. I never even saw that shot. I never even saw the shot, rather. I mean, I was just so terrified. And we've got that just again. There was a lot more going on there, I believe. And she keeps trying to boil it down with this just focus on the terror. Just focus on these little things rather than the bigger picture that was going on. I remember I was shaking. I was crying. It was horrible. Now that is very direct. There's no persuasive words in there. There's nothing extra in there at all. I was shaking. I was crying. It was horrible. I believe that. I think that is the truth. At the moment she shot her neighbour, I can believe she was shaking. I can believe she was crying. I can believe it was horrible, but horrible for whom? I was shaking. I was crying. It was horrible. And she's asked, is Susan Lorincz capable of manslaughter? And she says, no. You're in jail for it, so there's a fair chance that you are capable of manslaughter. And then she goes extra, because again, this could have been that really neat, tidy, just no answer that she gives. But she says more. It makes me sick what happened. I just never, ever thought in a million years that this would happen. So we've got some stuttering here, especially around the word it makes me sick what happened. I just never, two of our favourite words together, ever thought in a million years this would happen. But it did. And it breaks my heart. I mean, I don't know. I can't take it back. I can't replace her. I can't say, I did an apology to the family and I'm still so sorry. Now, this suggests to me some empathy here. It breaks my heart. Although she doesn't say what breaks her heart. She goes on to expand on that in a minute. But right now, it's just it breaks my heart. This could be breaks my heart. I shot a mother. I shot a person. I shot a daughter. Or it could be it breaks my heart that what I did has got me here in prison. I mean, I don't know. I can't take it back. True. I can't replace her. Now that does suggest there is some empathy there because she knows that she can't replace this person. I can't say, I did an apology to the family and I'm still so sorry. That is very distancing language. It's not, I have apologized to the family and I'm so sorry. It's, I did an apology to the family, as if that was something you were being told to do. Please make an apology to the family because that will make things a little bit better. So I did an apology. It doesn't sound like there was a lot of genuineness there in that apology. It's not saying, I'm so sorry. There's no genuineness there about this apology. It was something that was did, and I think it was did for a reason. I did an apology to the family and I'm still so sorry. It sounds like that apology could have had an end point, so I've been sorry for a month, so I'm not sorry anymore. I'm still so sorry. That word still there means that the apology seems to have, and the regret seems to have an expiry date in her head. And I know her kids are without a mom, and I know it's been hard on her mom. I know everybody's hurting. I just wish I could change things. So again, we do have some empathy, some awareness of what has happened. I know the kids are without a mom. I know it's been hard on her mom. I know everybody's hurting. Now, everybody is an interesting way. It's not actually talking about, so it's very factual there. The kids are without a mom. This has been hard on her mum. Well, it's been hard on the kids as well, but you don't expand on any of that. Those poor boys growing up now without a mother or having to witness that or whatever it is she wants to say. It's just a bit of fact. Again, emotion, very low. Her kids are without a mum. I know it's been hard on her mum. Everybody's hurting. Well, everybody can include Susan in prison. I wish I could change things. And I believe that's true because I wish I could change things. But for who? She doesn't say. She doesn't expand on that thought again. I wish I'd never done it. I wish those boys still had a mom. No, it's I wish I could change things. She's in prison, so she probably really does wish she could change things. So in this part, there is an awareness of the consequences. There is a real awareness of the consequences there. But I do think she's as sorry for herself as she is for others. She's part of everybody, and I think part of the wish for changing things is that she wouldn't be in the predicament that she's in just now. There is regret, but it's sort of global regret that this happened. She's part of the regret herself, the consequences on her. But look, I don't believe for a second that she can't remember the shot. She talks about pulling the trigger. She talks about saying, I hit her. One last part to listen to from Susan, and she's talking here about why she took matters into her own hands and didn't just let the police deal with the situation.
Some people have also asked, why not wait for the cops to arrive instead of shooting her?
Because when I called, when the kids said they would set me on fire, the Marion County Sheriff's Department never showed up. I ended up having to go there, show them the sign, show them the lighter fluid days later when I finally had a break in work. So I thought, they can come, they cannot come.
There might be people, though, that have noisy neighbors. You live on the bottom floor, you might hear the people above you. You might hear kids running down the hall as well. But is that enough to grab a gun from a bedroom?
No, that's not why I grabbed my gun. When she said, I'm going to kill you, I firmly believed she was going to kill me. That's why I grabbed the gun, because she had shouted that at me.
Did you ever consider leaving that neighborhood?
I had sold a horse, got a mortgage, and I was in the process of buying a small place. I wanted out. I didn't want to be there anymore, and it would have closed within a couple weeks.
Why should we listen to you now?
Because I have proof that the children lied. And again, when you're dealing with young children, you know that they're going to make mistakes. He told his mother, I hit him. So I understand when she first came to that door and she was raging, I did not know what happened. I mean, to me, I thought she was having a psychotic break, or she was high on something, or she was just, I just thought, oh my God, what is going on here? When I found out he lied to his mom, I'm thinking, she came home from work, she was tired, all she wanted to do was put her feet up, and he tells her, I hit him. When the prosecutor asked the child, where were you hit? He said, oh, she never hit me. That's in his testimony. And the prosecutor knew he dropped the charges for assault battery. Then the children lied about their location. He said he was right next to his mother when she was shot. He was 60 feet away at the mailboxes.
Fascinating, fascinating person. Some people have also asked, why not wait for the cops to arrive instead of shooting her? Because when I called, when the kids said they would set me on fire, Marion County Sheriff's Department never showed up. Now, we have here the fact that the question is put to her about the cops, and she's changed it to Marion County Sheriff's Department, suggesting for me, using that formal name, that there's a bit of distance between her and the police. Again, when she was talking about the 911 call, she didn't really go into the content of it, so I wonder if there's a bit of history there with her and the police. Interestingly, though, she doesn't say, I didn't mean to shoot her. She actually goes in to talk about why she did shoot her, why she didn't wait for the police. Some people have asked, why not wait for the cops to arrive instead of shooting her? I didn't mean to shoot her. I was waiting on the cops, but the gun went off, would be something that she could say to be consistent with the story that she tells. But no, she says that when I called, the kids would set me on fire. Marion County Sheriff's Department never showed up. I ended up having to go there, show them the sign, show them the lighter fluid days later when I finally had a break in work, so they could come or they could not come, is what she says. So the premise of the question is, why not wait for the police? And she tells us why she didn't wait for the police and shot her neighbour. That is there in her answers. It doesn't stack up with the story that she wants to tell. When she's talking about taking the sign and the lighter fluid to the police, she says she did it days later when I finally had a break in work. She's the second time she's mentioned work. I wonder why she's doing that so often. Is it a sort of resume statement to say that, look, I'm a virtuous person, I had a job and I worked very hard, so I wasn't able to go to the police station. Anyway, she says, so I thought they can come, they cannot come, which is more like a challenge to the police. Remember I said there's a bit of this distance between herself and the police. They can come, they cannot come. Rather than, so I thought they might come, they might not, so I shot her. They can come. That suggests that the police could come, but I'm going to shoot her anyway. They cannot come, I'm going to shoot her anyway. This is all about saying, I was going to shoot her whether the police came or not. There might be people, this is a question to her, there might be people though that have noisy neighbours. You live on the bottom floor, you might hear the people above you, you might hear kids running down the hall as well. But is that enough to grab a gun from your bedroom? She says, no, that's not why I grabbed my gun. Now, grab is in the question, but she is saying that she grabbed her gun, not got my gun. It's grabbed my gun. That suggests there was some quickness there to it all, and that this was done in temper rather than being terrified. When she said, I'm going to kill you, I firmly believed she was going to kill me. By the way, again, it's not I believed she was going to kill me. She's adding this persuasive ly word, firmly. Firm with an ly at the end. Watch out for ly words. They reveal a lot when someone is talking. I firmly believed she was going to kill me. That's why I grabbed the gun, because she shouted that at me. So we had before the fact that the door frame splintered, but it's really, I think, the shouting that is really getting to her. Noise, doesn't seem to like noise. Did you ever consider leaving the neighbourhood? She says, I'd sold a horse, not the house. I'd sold a horse, got a mortgage, and I was in the process of buying a small place. I wanted out. I didn't want to be there anymore, and it would have closed within a couple of weeks. She doesn't quite answer the question. Did you ever consider leaving that neighbourhood? And she says, I sold a house, got a horse, rather, got a mortgage. She doesn't quite answer the question of, yes, I had considered leaving the neighbourhood, or even, yeah, I was getting out. And then the most bizarre answer of this entire interview that we looked at so far. Why should we listen to you now? I.e., tell us your credibility. Give us your reasons why you are credible and you're sitting here telling the truth about this. And she says, because I have proof that the children lied. And this really goes into a little bit of victim blaming if we accept the children are victims of this because it's their mom that has been shot. I have proof that the children lied. Well, the fact that children lied doesn't mean we should listen to you now. It's not truth of your veracity. It's not proof of your veracity. It's proof the children lied. And again, when you're dealing with young children, you know that they're going to make mistakes. He told his mother, I hit him. A little bit of empathy in there. Young children make mistakes. It's all right that they lied, but it's really not in her words. So I understand when she first came to that door and she was raging, I did not know what had happened. I mean, to me, I thought she was having a psychotic break, or she was high on something, or I just thought, oh my God, what is going on here? Victim blaming again. The state, the mental state, the addicted state, or the psychotic state of the person that she has shot is something that she wants to get across. When I found out he lied to his mum, I'm thinking she came home from work, she was tired, all she wanted to do was put her feet up. Now that shows empathy, and it shows an ability to see inside someone else's mind and understand, sympathize with their feelings there. Not often I see that when we look at people who have killed other people, this sort of being able to understand how the victim felt or thought. It's interesting, but I'll come to that later. And he tells her, I hit him. When the prosecutor asked the child, were you hit? He said, oh, she never hit me. Now, the question was, why should we believe you? But we're just into this big story about the children lying here. That's in his testimony, and the prosecutor knew he dropped the charges for assault battery. Then the children lied about their location. He said he was right next to his mother when she was shot. He was 60 feet away at the mailboxes. I do not know. I've got nothing as to why this means that we should believe her now because the children lied and he was 60 feet away at the mailboxes. Nothing at all. But also, how does she know? Once more, especially around these children, she seems to really have an indication of where they were at, the positioning and so on. But she doesn't say how she knew this. So in that last extract there, when her guard is down, she is very vivid about getting the gun. She grabbed the gun because it's in her interest to be telling the story, but she forgets that in the telling of the story she was telling, she shouldn't really be doing any of this gun stuff. I think it's because she was shouted at. I think being shouted at, not being threatened to kill, not the fact that someone was coming through the door is the most important thing to her in what happened there, why she shot the gun. And she shows empathy. But is that manipulative? We'll come to that as I look at my conclusions on this. Don't forget, though, if you do want part 2, then do let me know in the comments. And also, I'll see from likes and stuff like that there's a real desire to get more content like this. So I think that this is curated storytelling from her. She's painting the victims as aggressive and her as the scared and confused person at the centre of all this. But she glosses over the most important parts here, which is grabbing the gun, shooting, the why she shot. She really wants to say, I don't remember doing this at all. It was all a horrible accident. But she says, I pulled the trigger. And when questioned in some other ways, it's very obvious that the shot was intentional. But the empathy she shows is interesting because at first glance, I thought it was real. I thought, wow, that's something that she can actually see and feel something that was going on in the victim's head. But is it self-serving and manipulative? Because I think there's something there. And if you've got any psychology experience, do let me know in the comments. I think there's something there that she is able to express empathy, but she's very, very low on emotions. And very, very cold in terms of victim blaming and so on there. That, to me, the controlling language as well, suggests a characteristic of someone who I wouldn't want to have in my life. So there's Susan Lorincz, part 1. If you'd like part 2, do let me know. NeverAtruerWord.com is a website there. You can get in touch on social media if you want to have any comments on this. You'll also find a whole load more videos or podcasts. I do look at a whole load of Netflix things over the past few months that have been popular and dealing with some of the statements in there. You can also sign up for the monthly newsletter if you want to upskill yourself in looking up the words people choose to use and how they can try and manipulate you. That's all at NeverAtruerWord.com. And we'll see you soon for something new from Never a Truer Word.